brief presentation for you guys, talk about what WSDA does. When it comes to knotweed, I'm kind of the single employee, although we have Chad and other guys help out with it. We basically are a support program, assist with funding, supplies. If there's any advice or help, we can help you out in the field. But I don't actually supervise any crews or anything. My job is to get the money to the experts, which is you guys. We do only send out a solicitation once a biennium. I believe 2014 is when we went from yearly agreements to the biennial ones, which allows for a lot more flexibility for the cooperators. When we were doing single year and writing a new agreement every single year, well, our fiscal year ends the end of June, starts back up July 1st. Not great timing to have to redo agreements right in the middle of knotweed season when everybody's wanting to get up and running. So we did spread those out to 2 years. Like I said, some people, you might have a surfboard, grant or something that all expires this year. Well, this gives you the flexibility to spend that this year, communicate with me that the reason is, and we'll, spend yours in the second year. So it's been very beneficial, I believe, to the program to go to 2-year agreements. We have limited funding. Obviously, we wish we had a huge pile and anybody want to do anything with knotweed, we could do it. But we do prioritize riparian habitats, specifically to help out with salmon and other issues on our watersheds. Doesn't mean that we don't support the elimination of knotweed everywhere, whether it's terrestrial or anything. You just need to find some other funding to hopefully go out and get those. If you need, once again, help with supplies, herbicide, for any knotweed control, feel free to get a hold of us and we can probably help you out in some manner. But the actual funding, we really want to be boots on the ground, get a backpack on somebody and get out there and help get rid of it. And the reason why we prioritize the riparian systems is pretty obvious. It's a freeway system out there for knotweed. So real quick, what do you need for a successful knotweed program? Well, one, it's hard work. So you need a dedicated crew for not only the survey, but the outreach to the landowners, get everybody on board. And then you obviously need landowner support. And if you have those two, then you need funding. If you have all three of those in place, you can definitely have a successful knotweed program. And then you pretty much have 3 phases, so to speak, of the whole program itself. Obviously, you have a problem to begin with. So you're going to get out there and get the initial survey done, talk with landowners, get everybody on board and get that project shovel ready. And then we need funding to get out there and actually eliminate the knotweed. And then hopefully we're successful with that. And then we need to have a long-term monitoring program in place to protect that project. As far as those 3 phases, WSDA feels like we're part of phase 2, and that's the funding to get out there. Survey of the watershed, landowner outreach, that should be done at the agency level. Now, the initial survey doesn't have to be detailed all the way out into the floodplains, and we know exactly how many acres of knotweed you have, but it does need to basically get out there, get your locations on a parcel map so you can know which landowners you need to reach out to and hopefully get them on board and get that project ready to be brought to the funder's attention. So like I said, every 2 years, we do put out a solicitation. This is just a brief snip from the one that went out about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And it kind of explains to you what the minimums are. In kind is kind of a minimum match. And if you do bring in kind, whether it be equipment use or anything, we try to ask what your dollar equivalent is of that. So we can kind of put it in there to bring dollars to the program. Other invasives is a big one, especially at the county level or the agency level. If you want to offer it as a match, let's hypothetically say you have a watershed that is highly infested with knotweed. 95% of it is your invasive problem, and then you got a 5% butterfly bush problem. Well, the last thing we want to do is eliminate all this knotweed, and then 5 years from now, you're asking for a butterfly bush program. So we don't want to do that. We need to do it all at the same time. It looks great as far as the proposal as a match. If, once again, let's say 7.5 of your 8-hour day, you're out there treating knotweed, the other half hour just comes from county funds or another grant, and you offer up that you're going to get the butterfly bush going down at the same time. Let's not waste the boots on the ground. Let's get it all done at the same time. And then, of course, examples of who's eligible, wide range. We do offer 1 and 2 year funding formats, although nobody's ever really applied for one. But we do offer both. And the proposals need to be in at the same time. There is no solicitation going out this year or the in-between years of the biennium. Now, I do try to hold a small percentage of funding going into the second year, wait to see where the dust settles from everybody's work of the first year, see if we need to move money around, see if we need to add some to some folks to get them up and running. And this is kind of the big one. This is straight from the RFP, and this is kind of what we're really leaning on, the shovel-ready projects. And all this comes down to we have limited funding, and we got to use it as efficiently as we can. So it is intended for the riparian habitats with the boots on the ground. The shovel-ready projects, the ones that already have the survey done, the landowner support, we're here because we just need to hire people and get this done. Those will have top priority. And then the other big thing, this is highly stressed, is we are going to eliminate this in a top-down fashion. We are going to start up at the headwaters at the uppermost infestation and then move down. And in bold, it says funding stops where permission stops. Now, that does not mean it's still not a great project. Let's say you have 15 miles from the uppermost infestation down to where you're running into an issue with a landowner that says no, and you're not giving the permission. That doesn't mean reclaiming 15 miles of spawning grounds and everything above it is not a worthwhile project. I think some people are getting stuck into that where if they couldn't get all the way to the mouth of every single system, then they thought it wasn't a worthwhile project, which is not the case. The salmon are not parking at the mouth. They're accessing and getting upstream to spawn. And also, once again, we do support, eliminating knotweed wherever it might be. Even if it is below a no, let's say there's a county park below where the permission ends, and it's just from recreational means and just the people of the county, it's worthwhile to control it. Well, once again, hopefully the county has some funding they can pull up to get the boots on the ground to go do it. But once again, you need help with it, herbicide supplies or anything to do any treatments, feel free to ask us. We're probably more than willing to help. Then once we through the RFP and we get out the agreements, this is just a snip from one of the contracts that went out to the counties, just to show you the deliverables. Once a year, we'd like to have a calendar year report, which I'm guessing if you're doing knotweed work and on other grants, you're writing reports anyway. So shouldn't be too big of a deal. Really, the whole point of the deliverables is to tell us your accomplishments for the year and show the scope and scale of your work. Just because you went out and only treated a half an acre of solid knotweed doesn't mean it wasn't over 20 miles of river and 35,000 acres that you had to cover. Just the amount of knotweed does not tell the whole story. So we do want to know the entire area you're protecting. And currently, this is our current list of cooperators with agreements for this biennium. I believe we've got about 20 agreements out, and we're working through 21 different counties at the moment. Some of these drop off, some add in. I don't know if Jill's here right now, but Jill's a great example of she applies for money when she believes her program needs it. And then some years she has other grants in place, but she'll call me up and say, hey, I'm not going to put in this year, just to let you know. So hopefully that pile's a little bit bigger to spread out to other people that could use it this year. So this changes quite often. And we also have a biocontrol program, which I know Jen's going to be talking about pretty soon, so I'm not going to dive too much into it. It was a long process, though. I believe we started in either 2006 or 2008 in cooperation with Oregon State University, trying to get all the testing and everything done to get the permits. And it took a dozen years or so, and it's only been the last 5 or 6 years that we've actually had the permit and are getting out there and doing the releases. This is with Jen. We went with Jen in 2023 in the spring and did a release on a bunch of giant knotweed on the Hump Tulips River. And that's actually my daughter in the front there. That was kind of a take the kid to work day, so she enjoyed it. And then this is what we left behind. I don't know if if it comes across very good, but and then once again, I know Jen will talk about the releases and all that stuff. And real quick, and then just transitioning out into the field, we do bounce around and help cooperators when we can. And we are one of the biggest challenges with knotweed, especially on the rivers, is access. Whether it be you have limited put-ins or takeouts if you're trying to float the river. We're kind of moving towards using rubber rafts and everything. It's just a bigger platform. And as you can tell, you can carry more from weight to just people putting their lunch boxes, first aid kits. It could be self-contained. And in this pictures, which by the way, before I move on, these next three slides are from Brian Burgess at DNR. I do have a lot of pictures of our setup, which is similar out in the field, but every picture I took, I'm too far away from our raft to actually see what the setup is. Ours is a little bigger than this. We use frame rafts, so we have an operator uh, in the raft to move it down a little bigger river. This is more built for like kind of dragging along with you on the slower moving rivers and lakes, ponds, whatever. Great system. As you can see, there's dual containment. We got some tubs in here. Um, Anyway, you got tubs in the raft, and this is a non-self-bailing raft too. So we have double containment. Should there be any spills or anything, it stays within the containers or within the rafts. Then just a little more description on what it is, why we are switching to rafts. You can just get a lot more done. There's times where we'll just camp on the side of the river too. Just get up and pick up where we left off the night before. Um, and once again, it's all because of access. And the last thing you want to, well, sometimes you don't have a choice in it, but if you have to float for 5 miles to get to where your work position is, work for a little bit, and then float out at the end of the day, you're not getting much time on the actual site. You're spending more time transporting yourself and your crew there. So this is definitely a way to move in the future if you are on one of those rivers that are pretty tough to get to. And then the last thing is adding electrical components with it. We have moved over to power backpacks a lot in the last couple of years. I'm not sure who in here has done that or not. It saves a lot of time in pumping. We have, and I'll just move to the next slide. So what we do in combo with the raft setup, we'll have kayaks. So it's kind of think of a big mothership of the raft running down, and we can actually drag hose from it, a little more of a high pressure system. Excuse me, to get up into the bigger infestations. We have, I think, 50 foot or so. Where's Danica? I can't remember how long a hose we had on that we were dragging, but we could drag from the raft. And then also we'll have 2 or 3 kayaks set up like this with a power to wall backpack strapped to it. 4 of those zipping across from to the other shore instead of maneuvering this entire frame raft over the other side because you see one plant. The little kayaks that are a lot lighter, we can drag anywhere, go and get that one. Maybe a side channel, which is what you're seeing here. This is on the West Satsip River, I believe. Real shallow. The raft's not going down there, but you could easily maneuver the kayak over to it and get to it. So the combination between a raft setup to mix fill from is a great work platform. And then you put it in combination with kayaks and a couple people with the good old heel toe express out there works really good. And then we also have a couple of airboats at Department of Agriculture, which comes in handy on the larger rivers. On the left side up here, that's the Alaskan airboat, which has a little thicker hull and a windshield built in Alaska for rivers specifically. This is on the Skagit River, I believe, upstream of Concrete, between Concrete and Rockport, and helping Skagit County out do a knotweed treatment. So once again, they're quick. They can get you there. In this situation right here, once again, they'd be floating for a while, for a couple hours probably to get to where they want to start working. Oh, it could only work for so long, and then you got to float out because you have minimal put-ins and takeouts. With the airboat, we just picked them up at the state park and 2 or 3 shuttled runs, and we're down there. And we're working all day long. And then from a safety standpoint, if there's any issues in the field, you got a quick out. We can get an injury or anything that could happen in the airboat and back to the launch in a hurry. And the red one is American airboat, more the lighter sled type. A lot of fun, but if you're in a, high flow of a river with rocks and everything, or even out on the coast, in bad weather, whitecaps and stuff, having the windshields is nicer and you feel a little more safer. This is in Grace Harbor, and this is Spartina Denza, Florida, just in plant in front of it, just to kind of give you an idea there about. Um, this is our next one we're going to be experimenting with. We have the raft so far, but we're waiting to assemble the rest of it. Excuse me. These Striker inflatables, they have a tunnel hull design, so the jet is actually sits up above where the pontoons actually hit. So you can really go even more shallower water. And then there's obviously no big cage on it for the airboats. A lot of the restriction for taking an airboat on a river is just once it gets overgrown and you got trees coming in, the cage just can't make it under it. Something like this could. And we're thinking, well, we'll see. We'll get back to you on it. But we're also want to put a frame on this. So it's going to be a hybrid kind of a jet boat frame raft at the same time. So we're thinking we could go maybe instead of putting on certain rivers, instead of putting that frame raft in up top and floating down, we could just launch down, cruise up river with this, and then kind of use it as a frame raft on the way back down. So we'll get back to you more on that once we actually get out there and start using it. And a few pictures just kind of from around the state. Last year we did go up to Stehekin, with Chelan County to assist the last 30 to 35 miles. There's no roads to Stehekin, so you do have to boat up there. And we offered them the transportation to get the gear and crew up there. And then we also assisted with a survey of the lower 6 miles of the Stehekin River from where they've found the uppermost plant in the past. And we went back up there and verified it, and we didn't see anything up above it so far. But they had basically walking access. This is the first time that we went up there with kayaks and were able to assist from the river out. So we did come across, I think, 10 or 12 new knotweed sites that they hadn't seen before. But these are about the worst of it. And as you remember that slide from when I first started, it kind of coalesces into just everywhere thrown together. We're not there yet. This is a perfect EDR situation to get rid of the knotweed on the Stehekin River. They are broken up. They might see a plancha. These are pretty close to each other, but then you might go another half mile or mile before you even find another thing. So it is very gettable, and now's the time to do it for sure. And this kind of shows you, once again, this is a setup, our offshore boat here loaded up with the kayaks and gear to help Chelan County get up to Stehekin. And this was me and Mac doing part of this survey. Obviously, be careful out there. That was a big strainer. And I don't know if you can see in the middle of that very good, but there is a canoe right in the middle of all those logs and sticks and everything. So, and the reason why we're up there, we must have seen literally a million sockeye in the lower 6 miles of this river. A lot of landlocked kokanee. They were coming out of the lake and spawning in the river. And so not only are we, looking for knotweed, we're looking right down into the water the entire time. And there's your reason, why we're here. So it was a great trip, great weather. And looking forward to helping them out this fall and getting the new sites that we found. They're lining up the whole permissions and everything. And it's also in cooperation with national parks as well. So national parks up there assists with a vehicle. So once we get up to the dock in Stehekin, they have one of their old pickup trucks that they lend to the county to help us shuttle around while we're up there. So that's about all I got for you. Feel free for any questions or anything.